You are listening to This Week in Clown World with Ben and Hobbs, so sit back, relax, take your black pill, and enjoy the show.
Good evening, guys, gals, and pals. It is once again time for This Week in Clown World with Ben and Hobbs. I'm Hobbs. He's Ben. You're in Clown World. Sorry for the belated start this evening, but poopy diapers wait for no man.
Well, she avoided the Taco Bell. We've talked about this.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of stuff going on in the world, but it's really just more of the same. We've got a couple of really black pilling stories tonight. So do you want to lead off with that one? Get the bad news out of the way first, or
Bad news and worse. Start with what? The West Virginia National Guard thing?
Yeah, we'll start there.
I'm sure everybody's heard of it by now, what happened. The two National Guard members were on patrol, I guess is what you would call it. It looks like the early footage that I saw of it, the guy just came up, he must have headshotted him, came up behind him. He continued to try and shoot some other National Guard members, and I didn't know this. Apparently, they're walking around DC with live ammo because it was a National Guard member that returned fire and stopped him.
Yeah, doesn't make much sense to walk around in plate carriers and rifles with no ammo.
Well, they do such dumb shit when they deploy people domestically. I wouldn't be surprised. Like when they first started doing stuff along the border. I mean, that was still going on when I was in. They were sending them down there without any ammo. I'm glad to see they're giving them ammo, at least.
Yeah, if you're going to be having them patrol what up until recently was the most heavily crime-infested city in the country, it kind of makes sense that you be able to meet the criminals on an equal footing.
Right.
At least.
And, I'd made the probably a hot take about it. When I found out it was an Afghani national, I thought that makes it slightly less bad than if it was some leftist Antifa nut job just capping people.
Yeah, it's one of those things that up until the last probably 4 or 5 years, it would be expected that it was be some kind of a jihadi of one variety or another. But nowadays, you're almost expecting a trans lesbian furry on a suicide mission or something.
Absolutely. I mean, not to say that what this guy did was justified or not, but an Afghani national being pissed off at an army person out doing patrols has the modicum of like, okay, well, maybe I can see what he's pissed off about. It's still a terrible thing, and I don't know how you would even fix this going forward. I guess we're going to have to kick all those guys out, which I'm sure there's going to be some Afghanis that are swept up that shouldn't be, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, Trump immediately blamed the Biden administration and their lax entry standards for anybody in Afghanistan. On the one hand, there are a number of Afghani nationals that they did help us a lot when we were over there doing
supposedly
things.
This guy, I don't know, this guy's background's kind of weird. He was working for elite CIA units. What?
Yeah, which really really raises more questions than it answers. Anytime you see an assassination or something that causes domestic disturbance, and then CIA is tangentially attached, it really makes you kind of go,
Yeah.
Especially considering, and this is where things kind of go off of the rails a little bit, in the realm of, is this a psyop? Is this, did this, some people are even saying, did this even happen? Because going through Google Analytics, for the past week or so, and this is one of the things that the internet sleuths have started doing in the last year or so is anytime a tragedy happens, whether it be like the Charlie Kirk assassination or the 2 attempts on President Trump or now this, you'll have some of these tech savvy people that'll start going back through Google Analytics and looking for search histories. And the woman that was killed, she's a 20-year-old, I think PFC, who was killed. Her name was being searched on Google the day before she was killed. There was a massive spike. It was like 000, and then a massive spike the day before, and then back down to 0. And then the shooting happened and it spiked back up because obviously people were looking into whoever it was that got shot. But there was a massive search spike the day before the shooting in 2 places, Washington, D.C. and
Afghanistan.
no,
Where?
Tel Aviv, Israel.
Okay, there you go. always look for the tiny hats, I guess.
It's at this point, it's just like I don't even like pointing these things out anymore because it just seems like you're just banging on a drum that shouldn't even be there. These connections shouldn't exist, but here we are, just noticing.
I mean, what would the connection be? I mean, I don't want to get into Alex Jones Sandy Hook territory of saying it never happened. We got a comment over here. They didn't expect to be a troon because it wasn't a Christian school.
Yeah, it's the most godless place on earth, Washington, D.C., so of course it wasn't a tranny this time.
So I haven't seen any of the tinfoil hat theories on that yet. Where they're saying that it was a plot to kick out all the immigrants, or
You know what? At this point, I don't even know. It's just like the only thing that I've seen is that this happened. Like this woman's name was being searched a whole lot in Washington, D.C. and Tel Aviv, and then she was shot the next day. And nobody's drawing any type of like substantive conclusions from that. And, some people are like, were they just searching out all of the National Guard names? I don't know.
I mean, that's a plausible theory.
Yeah. Trying to figure out, the day before, or, try to pick a mark, figure out who's doing what where, or it's like, I don't even know. And to be honest, when you think about the red herring effect or the misdirection effect, could somebody at Google had been, got the call from somebody up, be like, hey, why don't you backfill that there was a massive amount of searches on the day before, and that will send the tinfoil hat people on a wild goose chase. So did that even happen?
Yeah, because they'd only got, I think they'd only been in DC for a couple days before this happened, if I saw that right. Basically 2 days. So, I mean, maybe that's your CIA and Mossad checking on who's coming into Washington, D.C. They got the manifest list of all the soldiers they're going to be. It'd be interesting if, I mean, the guy was shot too. It'd be interesting if his name was searched up also.
I'm sure it was. As far as I know, she's dead, and he's still in critical condition.
The shooter's also, I think he's in better shape. He's maybe serious.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll never hear from him about his motives or whatnot. I'm surprised they let him live if he's got CIA ties.
Well, just you wait. He'll choke on some banana pudding or something at the hospital.
And the shooting story was kind of weird too. They said it was a 357 and he fired 10 to 15 shots.
Maybe he's got that Jerry Mitchell-X speed reload.
Yeah, I don't know. That was the other route.
Or he's got that Sirhan revolver that holds, 12 rounds.
But yeah, right. So, I mean, that's the worst story. I mean, RIP to both. I mean, to her, he's fighting for his life, I guess. Chicken shit way that guy did it, come up behind him and gunned him down. But what do you expect? And so then the other bad black pill news is Doge. You've got this one.
Yeah, so somebody in the press corps asked I think it was Steve Witkoff about Doge, and he just flat out said, "Yeah, that doesn't exist anymore." Uh, Doge still has, I believe, 6 months left on its charter, but all of the employees that were working for Doge have either been let go back to what they were doing beforehand, or their responsibilities has been rolled into other government agencies. In essence, Doge fought the swamp and is now being rolled into the swamp.
Yeah, and I saw Trump and Elon are buddy again too, which seems weird after he accused him of being a pedophile. There was some dinner and Trump was talking Elon up, and they were shaking and hugging hand or shaking hands and hugging at the event.
Yeah, I know when you're at that kind of level, you're going to be expecting some slings and arrows coming your way. Um, Honestly, though, I'm happy because having Elon on side is a lot better than having him offside. It's a shame though that the Doge didn't really come to anything at all.
Right.
I was super optimistic that it would result in some substantive cuts, some doing away with certain government entities or whatever. The original plan was that the Doge trimming of the fat in the government combined with the uh, revenue generated by the tariffs would lead to substantive income tax relief for American citizens. But nothing's come of that. Everything is just as, if not more expensive than it was in early November of 2024. And my disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
Yeah, and we have a comment over here. And MTG said this shit ain't fixable. I'm out. I was kind of thinking that might be what happened with Elon. I mean, he got on the inside and saw all the things. He saw the magic money machines. I think maybe he realized that this whole thing is just fucked. You can't fix it. He's just going to go do his own thing until the collapse of it all.
Yeah, yeah. I think either that or I did hear that he was very at odds with Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, in that Elon came in with a slash and burn mentality, and Scott Bessent was wanting to take a more nuanced approach, and they butted heads significantly. Um, Elon being the sort of like autistic tech genius businessman, and Scott Bessent is a like dyed in the wool finance guy. Um, One of the things that I didn't know until recently is that Scott Bessent used to work for George Soros. Um,
Yeah,
they
why
had
not?
they had a falling out like 20 years ago,
Okay.
but uh, but Scott Bessent was one of the I don't want to say like the point man, but he was involved in a big way in the currency and market manipulation that ended up crashing the Bank of England back in the 90s.
Hmm.
And I think after they did that was when he had a bit of a change of heart, because he was seeing just how cutthroat and mercenary George Soros was. He didn't care who he hurt as long as his not necessarily his bottom line, but his agenda was being seen through. And so he had a big falling out with the whole organization, because he's like, today it's the Bank of England. If you do something like this to the United States or China or Russia or one of these other big players, it's like the Bank of England's bad enough, but at
Mhm.
this point they're not really a major player. If you do this sort of thing to one of like the big time players, you're not only going to make some people's lives rough, you're going to be on the cusp of starting wars or just like starving people to death and ruining millions of people's lives around the world. So he was like, I'm out,
Yeah.
and which is kind of why I can see why Trump tapped him for the Treasury Secretary because he has been in the financial fight on the side of evil, and so he knows how it works, and he's changed sides, so that's all well and good. But like I said, him and Elon were coming at odds on the best approach to cutting government. Elon was wanting to take the Javier Milei approach and just axe it, and Besant was like, "No, we can't axe it. We need to ease this
Well,
in."
and say what you will about Elon, and some people say he's a grifter. He doesn't really do much at Tesla, but he is a problem solver. I mean, that's how he's made a lot of his money, is figuring out a problem and solving it. And I think that's what he tried to do with Doge, and he realized, it's a unfixable problem.
Yeah, his strength lies not in fixing the problem himself, but by finding the people best equipped to fix the problem and
Yeah.
sicking them on it. He's an expert delegator of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he was trying to do here. Was he was trying to get all of the guys that were good at making these algorithms to collate where all of the money was going, and I think he probably stumbled on some stuff that he shouldn't have, which is why they worked so hard to get him out of there. Because as soon as the gravy train dries up, you got a lot of Congress critters, you've got a lot of NGOs, you've got a lot of government employees whose entire livelihoods and fortunes relies on the shadow money that flows in and out of the government continuing to flow.
Which some of that might have trickled down. I mean, because if you look at all the unemployment statistics, they're not great, but like 75% of them, I think is one. No, I can't remember the exact number, but most of them are government employees. I mean, that's why they've fired such a huge number of government employees that it's killed our unemployment rate. And I think part of that might be trickle down from Doge. Also, with the recent Snap shut off, they were able to go through and look at all the people receiving SNAP benefits. And, that was another one. There was just, dead people getting SNAP for 20 years, multiple people, the same name getting SNAP. They're starting to look at that too. So that might be some trickle down, of getting his people in there, but I don't know. We'll probably never know.
Yeah, it's pennies.
Yeah. The SNAP money. Yeah. When you look at the big picture of everything, it's a spending issue, not a revenue issue. And we can't seem to fix it at this point.
No.
Which, you probably do need to have a Javier Milei sort of situation where you just start taking an axe to everything.
And just start looking at entire departments and just cutting them.
That's why I was hoping the shutdown would last longer. I wanted to see what would happen if Snap was shut off for an extended period. Because we have so many people on it, it made me wonder how many actually need it.
Yeah. There's a lot of fraud that goes on in the bigger cities. Like around here, it's not so much because SNAP benefits around here are...
Yeah, they're administered by the state. So states can be more strict on how they want to do it, like Nebraska. But then you have all these blue states that just give it out like candy, and they're sucking the system dry.
Yeah, some of these states like New York were given some of these people. You were seeing TikTok videos of people bragging on, I got my EBT, it's $4,000 this month, and it's like $4,000 is about what I make in a month. Well, no, it's not. Not quite, but it's still a substantial amount of money. And if I was getting $4,000 just to pay for my food, I would have no financial problems right now at all.
Well, and think about how these states can prop up their budgets. You give SNAP to everybody. You give SNAP to illegal immigrants. You don't really, and they're not really checking on these immigrants to make sure they don't have any sort of documentation, right? So they're just getting free money. Who knows if it's even actually going to recipients at that point?
And you got some people just skimming off the top.
Yep. Like in Minnesota.
Oh God, that was a story and a half.
Yeah, it turned out that it was overturned or something. That whole Somali autism thing.
There was an activist judge. She looks like she's about 23 years old, so I don't know how this woman is a judge. But there was a guy who was convicted of fraud of running an autism charity and then using that as like a money laundering front to take these charitable donations and send them back to Somalia, which were then being forwarded to groups like Al Shabaab, an actual legitimate terrorist organization. And so this guy was convicted of this, and then his conviction was overturned by this activist judge. And I don't know, maybe you can look her up or so that people can see what she looks like. But this is the type of woman. She's got this like young, naive, liberal look on her face where she thinks that she's on the right side of history, getting this poor man off the hook for this crime. This is the type of woman in 4 or 5 years you're going to read a headline that she was raped and killed in an alleyway by one of the people whose side that she's perpetually on.
Minnesota is just such a shithole. It's no wonder that Trump did an online medical diagnosis of Tim Walz. Trying to find a picture of this. Oh, yeah. Wow. She looks like she's about 12 years old.
Yep.
Let me throw this. This is exactly who you would expect to overturn that. Throw it up here. There you go.
The only thing she's missing is some kind of bright hair color and a septum piercing.
Yeah. Needs to pack on some more pounds, too. Quite a few comments over here. Verizon laying off 15 to 20K. Walmart and Target aren't hiring seasonal workers. And people are spending money like drunken sailors. Who even knows what's going on anymore? Mark D. Yeah, I didn't do any Black Friday stuff. I kind of went in the aftermath because I needed toilet paper or something from Target. And like the shelves were half empty.
Really?
It's like, yeah, where people wiped it out on a Black Friday. It's like, where are these people getting money? I thought the economy was in the shitter and everybody's worried, but apparently not.
People might be going into Hawk or going into credit card debt to buy fancy Chinese toys full of lead paint for their
Buying
kids.
as much as they can before their money devalues. EBT users spend more than twice as much as a normal American on food.
Food. And that's the thing is that a lot of the food that they're buying isn't actually food. I was reading the statistics the other day. About 25% of the profits of PepsiCo and Coca-Cola come from SNAP EBT money. Considering that Pepsi and Coke are like multi-billion-dollar corporations, that's a lot of your goddamn tax money that's flowing to those companies to buy their nasty sugar water. Walmart is one of the biggest recipients of SNAP and EBT money. One of the reasons for that is the fact that a lot of their employees are on SNAP and EBT, and Walmart actually has a sort of unofficial policy of helping their employees to get on government benefits so that then they can pay their employees less. They pay their employees underneath of the SNAP EBT eligibility line so that their employees can get on SNAP and EBT and turn around and pay that money back to Walmart for their groceries. Your taxes, in essence, is subsidizing Walmart.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I wanted to see what would have happened if the shutdown went longer and EBT started crashing out. And you know, I don't have to explain to our audience; they're very smart economically, but that drives up the prices of all the goods when Walmart knows that the government's going to give them this much to pay for this product. Why would they want to lower it? So we're all paying the difference on that.
Yep, it's happening to the goods in Walmart in the exact same way that it's happening to college tuition. When the government guarantees that income, the people will charge whatever they want to.
Which I wish I would have had that story ready to go for the pre-show so we could talk about it. But 4-year colleges are on life support at this point.
Oh darn! Whatever will we do?
Yeah, multiple studies are showing that, you know, Gen Z is not seeing the value in a college education. They don't trust being in debt to the banks, and a lot of employers are not seeing the value in a college education anymore either.
Yeah.
So
Because when you go for your entry level job or your internship, your college degree in business or African American studies or basket weaving or whatever dumb shit you put yourself 6 figures into debt for, an employer is going to look at that and be like, okay, how does this make me money?
yeah, because I mean, it wasn't. I mean, when I started going to college, it was still kind of a selective process, you know. But anybody willing to go in debt can get a college degree at this point. I mean, they can go all the way up to freaking PhD level, I believe. You
Well,
know,
that's the thing. You should be able to put yourself into as much debt as you want to pursue whatever education you want for as long as you want. The operative clause here is that you are putting yourself into debt, not government-backed loans, not the get out of jail free card of the government forgiving your loan or anything like that. All loans are repaid, whether that's by the debtor or the dettee. All loans are repaid. And when the debtor is the US government having your back, then the dettee is going to essentially charge whatever they want at whatever interest rate they want in order to fleece you dry because they know that the government's good for it. Right up until they're not.
yep. And you know, the college is turning out an inferior product is what's going to do them in realistically, because who's like I said, you know, it just doesn't carry the weight that it used to. An employer could look at applicants and see, all right, well, this guy did 4 years at this, not now, but used to. This guy did 4 years of college, obviously must have some sort of brains rattling around in his skull.
Right.
But no, not the case anymore.
No, it used to be that when an employer would look and you had a 4 year degree, it didn't really matter what that degree was in because you having that degree signaled to your employer that you had the integrity to stick with something that was, for all intents and purposes, optional. You know, you don't have to finish college the same way that you have to finish your K through 12 education. It's not state mandated or anything. You can go to college and then you can
Mhm.
drop out and it doesn't have any type of negative legal repercussions on you. You know, your employer could look at that 4 year degree and be like, okay, this guy can stick with something for 4 years. I can hire him on and have a reasonable expectation that he's going to stick with this job for the foreseeable future. But
And what did them in was their greed. I mean, why would they want to flunk out an idiot in the first couple semesters when they could just string him along and keep getting paid in these loans for 4 to 6 years or whatever? You know,
right, you know, college was always seen as something that you know what, this is one of those little tangents that you can kind of go off on where universal higher education in a lot of ways, and this is going to piss a lot of people off, but in a lot of ways it's the same as universal suffrage. Everybody in America is not only, you know, once you reach 18, you know, you have the right to vote, but you're expected to vote in the same way that nowadays, as soon as you graduate college, you don't just, or as soon as you graduate high school, you have a right to go to college. No, you're expected to go to college. But in both scenarios, not everyone is fit to go to college, and not everyone is fit to cast a vote either, unfortunately.
yeah. So I don't know how you fix the college system at this point, and I'll be glad to see it fail. Basically, um, it's going to. I don't know. I'm worried the government's going to decide that colleges are too big to fail, and they come up with some retarded solution to keep colleges afloat.
We're already on the cusp of that. Trump was doing an interview with, I think, somebody from ABC, and she asked why they were opening up the gates to 600,000 Chinese students to come in. And Trump basically flat out said that our university system right now is on the verge of bankruptcy, and bringing in these 600,000 foreign students with the money that we're allowed to charge them for being foreign students is what's going to buoy up our education system. And you got people on the one hand that are like, yes, bring in all the foreign money and we'll just rake these guys over the coals. And then you've got people like Megyn Kelly. I wouldn't have had Megyn Kelly being the hero of America First in my bingo card, but she seems to have pivoted into that role quite nicely. But she's just like, when somebody said, if we don't bring these students in, then all of these universities are going to go bankrupt. And she's like, so what?
Right.
Let them burn.
Well, and why do these foreign students want to attend these American universities? Surely it doesn't carry as much weight as it used to. You know, it used to be a prestige thing. I can't imagine that going to an American university is better than going to a Chinese one at this point, seeing how the Chinese treat their education.
Well, there's two reasons for this. One, these Chinese students are high performing, high intelligence, and they're going to places like MIT and these actually prestigious colleges. They're not going to your community college or anything like that. They're going to the actual prestigious colleges that still actually turn out a useful degree in a useful field. And the other reason is because they're all fucking spies.
Yeah, probably.
You send a Chinese student to MIT, what are they doing? Yes, they're getting a doctorate degree at MIT in engineering or something, but they're also sending back everything that they observe to China.
Like that huge story, I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago, there was some Chinese students returning from China to continue their studies in America, and they had in their luggage some rare form of wheat fungus. You know, props to the TSA guy that found that. That's huge.
This has happened 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
The wheat blight that you're thinking of, there was one that took place in I want to say Wisconsin, where the guy had some type of either a bacteria or a fungal infection that affected, I think, rye. And then there was another one that I think was caught in Washington State that was some type of disease that affected apples.
Mm-hmm.
So this has happened more than once. And again, they come, oh, well, we're studying these things in the school that it's like, no, you're not. You're coming here and you're trying to commit agricultural terrorism is what you're doing.
And another thing, speaking of the foreign students, is diluted the market. I mean, you get these people coming over with the finest degree from the University of Mumbai or whatever. And, it's basically a paper degree, the finest school, the finest doctor school in the Caribbean.
Yeah. It's a diploma mill.
Yeah. The whole thing has been screwed up. And like I said, I think you're right on Trump's going to try and do something. The government's going to try and bail him out somehow. Especially because there's so much old money involved with these colleges. They don't want them to fail.
Yeah, there's that. And then on the completely opposite side, Trump is trying to bring in 600,000 foreign students from China in order to buoy up our education system, or secondary education system. But then on the flip side, he is set to, I think, file an executive order to basically put a moratorium on immigration from certain third world countries after this shooting that took place in Washington, D.C. Places like Afghanistan, Somalia. A lot of people are being sent back to Somalia, having their special residency permit or whatever it's called, having that revoked and having them sent back to Somalia. A lot of African countries. speaking of Africa, the G20 is taking place in South Africa right now, and the United States is not attending because of the human rights abuses against the Boer Afrikaners. So, like, it's just coming from all directions, and unfortunately, I'm not very organized tonight. I haven't been listening to the news very much over the last couple of weeks, but I mean, it's just like one thing after another.
Well, and maybe he was speaking some truth in that interview. He got kind of spicy with Megyn Kelly when he was saying we don't have the workers. Remember that? And
Mhm.
everybody, I mean, maybe he's been talking to business leaders and they said our colleges are turning out idiots. So he sees the problem, but that solution is not the right solution.
See, I've heard people say that we don't have the workers in the United States. We have the workers and we have the skilled labor in the United States to do these jobs. It's just that we don't have the workers who are willing to take the pay that a third worlder is willing to take. Now, somebody who's like, say, what I do, a machinist educated in the United States, are they going to be on a level above a machinist educated in some place like India or the Congo? I mean, yeah, they might be machinists in their country, but
Mm-hmm.
over here they'd be like an orangutan with a chisel and a hammer.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah, they're substantially behind in their skill set.
not only are they substantially behind in their skill set, but when you put somebody from a country that doesn't speak English in front of a CNC machine where everything is in English, and an added layer of difficulty to this, everything in the United States is in inches.
Mm-hmm.
You take somebody from one of these robotic, cuckolded metric countries and throw them in front of a machine where everything is measured in inches, and suddenly you have another layer on top of the English language barrier.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we have the talent here. These countries or these companies, they just need to be willing to they've been riding the gravy train of paying these third world employees bottom of the rung wages for so long that now asking them to raise it up to a standard that an American educated and an American trained uh, worker is going to expect for their skill set, they're freaking out because like I've been paying this guy $15 an hour and now this American wants 30. Well, that American is probably going to be better at that job.
Yeah, and this is why, as a libertarian, I've never been against unions. I don't think I've ever talked to a libertarian that's against unions. I mean, people should have the right to organize together and put a value on their labor and try and get that value. The I've never understood the conservative that just shows, and the Democrats are against labor unions more and more too. That shows how they're just in bed with the businesses that they when they want to bust up unions.
Right. I think that the main opposition to a union is that a lot of times the union leadership does not actually have the best interests of their workers in mind. Union leadership is oftentimes more of a politician than they are a laborer. And when you get up to that level, you are more concerned with dealing with the politics of it than you are with getting the best possible deal for the workers that you allegedly represent. And when you're dealing with politics, you're dealing with politicians. And
Mhm.
it ends up being that the union leadership is more interested in pleasing the politicians that they have to work with than the employees that they're having to work for. Um, One way to put it would be you have a large union doing something like auto working, and the union leadership is negotiating with those companies in order to get those companies to compensate their workforce more. Meanwhile, you have politicians that are leaning on those union leaders in order to say, put some type of emission standards on the vehicles that they make. So in order to please the politicians and make sure that the companies are still in business, they make their demands to the companies so outrageous that the workers go on strike when they don't get what their union reps are allegedly trying to get for them, and then the companies go and hire scab workers at a discount.
Yeah, and those union leaders can be a captured group too. Like the coal miners in West Virginia, they're digging in different. They're having to dig deeper and do different types of mines. So this is just an example. And the micrometer of the particles that their respirators supposed to filter out and how long they work in them have gotten smaller. Well, it was getting to be too expensive, and for some reason, Trump got in. He wants to bring back coal mining. The union reps caved, and they didn't decrease that amount, and now they're fine. People are ending up with screwed up lungs at the age of 30 now. It's worse than their fathers and their grandfathers ever had to deal with.
Oh shit! Is black lung back on the menu?
It's bad. It's like it's some sort. It's like a silicosis lung almost or something. And it's a real problem. They had it all lined up to get why they wouldn't want their employees to not die at 30 is beyond me. But the mine owners had that whole thing canceled when Trump got into office. And it was through the union. So, unions do have their issues too. We have a couple comments. Lisa Machinist here, wear footwear versus the ones from India. The union machine shop I worked in was a joke. Union was corrupt and in bed with the company. There, just like I had said with the miners, corrupt and in bed with the owners. We got way off topic on that one. So, we hit on Trump cancels the third world immigration, which I don't know how he's going to do that. It seems like they had their hands full with rounding up, South American and Mexico immigrants. Now they're going to throw the whole third world on there for them to round up.
Well, I don't think that this is a rounding up and deporting thing so much as it is a stopping them from coming here in the first
Well, that's
place
fine.
thing.
Yeah. That
Which
should have been done a while ago.
Yeah. I did see one interesting meme that would do a lot to, I think, fix immigration, and it was a woman, and she says, "I want to increase immigration from X country," and then the guy says, "Would you be willing to live in that country for a year?" And she says, "Oh my God, absolutely not." And then he says, "Well, then absolutely not."
Yeah, like the one that said if we were importing Southeast Asian women at the rate we're importing men from other countries, white women would have it shut down in an instant.
Yes, would form SS death squads and have a wall a mile high across the border overnight.
So the other thing we wanted to get on before the show was over was Europe, who continues their shithole slide.
They're speed running a death of a civilization.
Yeah, England, I guess first. You had that one.
And I got a couple from England, actually.
Man, they're like every other week we have some England sucks story.
And I don't even want to say England sucks because it's England's government sucks. It really seems to be that there's a bit of a disconnect between the English people and their government, and for whatever reason, they just can't get these people out of office.
It's amazing they functioned this long and didn't go into this totalitarian state without a Bill of Rights. They were just operating on the honor system with their government for several hundred years, apparently.
Well, yeah, because they're a socially and ethnically homogenous country up until about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So like one of the first things is I gotta say that if anybody needs to be told to go outside and touch grass and that the internet is not a real place, it is apparently the government of England, of Great Britain, because we've got two stories here that are just like, if I didn't see them, I wouldn't know that I would think that this was some kind of a joke. The the first one is a 48-year-old man from the West Midlands has been jailed for more than 3 years for possessing and distributing guns? No. Drugs? No. Extremist right-wing music.
I
Like,
don't
what does
even.
that even mean?
Yeah, what is that? I need an example.
I don't know. No example was given. I mean, was this guy just like walking down the street with a boombox blasting Erica or what?
Yeah.
It was just like walking around singing Deutschland, Deutschland über alles, or
Yeah.
I
So
don't
no,
know.
apparently, I mean, no freedom of speech is in any sort of articles for the UK government, I guess. I've never looked into it, but apparently not.
Like, what is extreme right wing music? I'm sitting here thinking, is he on the Hard Archive YouTube page and just like, for those of you who understand that reference, good on you. For those of you for those of you who don't understand that reference, get yourself right. Hard Archive has some bangers. But yeah, it's like I don't even know what that means. But then the other one that crawled across my news feed a little while ago was a British IT consultant posted a photo on LinkedIn while he was on holiday in Florida holding a shotgun on private property. Completely legal. It wasn't framed as anything threatening. The UK police turned up at his home at night, arrested him, seized all of his electronic devices. The serious charges didn't hold, and the replacement public order charge was eventually dropped too. Even so, he lost access to his phone and his computer, which damaged his ability to work. Obviously, as an IT consultant, you kind of need access to your computer and your phone. Another example of how Britain keeps treating ordinary online posts like police matters. And so yeah, you're a British guy, you visit America on holiday. Some Americans are like, "Hey, let's go shooting because
Yeah,
that's
apparently you can't do anything that has anything to do with freedom if you're from England at any time.
God forbid a man have a hobby."
Yeah.
And yeah, so they completely ruined this guy's life temporarily. He couldn't have his electronic devices, so he couldn't do his work, and without his work and the dealing with the legal charges, he couldn't work, and then it brings up the recent Tucker interview with Piers Morgan. Have you seen this clip?
Yeah.
Maybe you could find it because
Yeah.
it'll be a good way to close the video out. It'll probably get us demonetized or strike on YouTube, but I don't fucking care. But yeah, Tucker Carlson was sitting down with Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan was saying that we have freedom of speech in England, and Tucker's like, "Oh, really? Here's this story." And as soon as you find it, we'll play that, and then we'll call it a night.
Well, I got a picture of that. Let me throw the picture of the guy up that got busted. It reminds me of the Englishman from the meme. Here's the dude.
Oh, that's the guy with the extremist music.
Yeah, I tried to find the extremist music. They don't say what it was. It says it incites racial hatred. He was selling the albums around Europe.
Dude just ripped Hard Archive off of YouTube. Uh-oh, Ben's gone. All right. So while we wait for Ben to come back, if anybody can hear me, uh, you there, Ben?
Yeah.
I don't know
Don't,
what that was about.
don't know what did that. I was searching for the the Tucker clip and I crashed out for some reason. I'm having some problems finding it. Are they kind of suppressing that?
Probably. Let me. I'll see if I can find it on Twitter here real quick, and I'll send it to you. Um,
I watched it multiple times the other day. I think I found it. It's a longer clip though, so it doesn't have the exact part we're looking for.
okay. Yeah. Well, either way, it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here, I'll send it to you, and you can just rip it straight onto.
But yeah, I mean, I don't is Pierce Morgan not going to be allowed? Is he live in England?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he does. And if he doesn't, then
So he's he not going to be allowed since he associated with Tucker now and said some Tucker said some no words.
I guess that remains to be seen. If you guys live in England and you want to, report him for wrongthink and just see what funny things happen, then
All right.
okay. So
I've got the Tucker clip here. So
Elizabeth Kinney from Tranmere. Have you read about this?
Go on.
She's a mother of 4. I think she's a nurse, and she gets beaten up by her boyfriend. He beats her up. She goes to the hospital, and she texts someone, a buddy of hers, a friend of hers, a girlfriend of hers, and describes the man who beat her up and sent her to the hospital as a, quote, faggot. Faggot. And she's arrested and convicted of a hate crime. The guy who beat her up is not arrested or convicted. And then she goes through this whole kabuki, which is now required, where she prostrates herself before the judge. I'm sorry, it was not a homophobic rant. By the way, you're allowed to be homophobic if you want in a free country. You can have any view you want. But no, because she used the word faggot, she's arrested, and the guy who punched her in the face was not. That story tells you everything.
Well, I don't know that story. If it's exactly
Daily Mail, baby.
Okay.
Pictures of her and everything.
Not doubting it. I'm just saying I need to look into it. But if that is how you've told it, obviously it's ridiculous.
Would you say the word faggot on camera?
No.
Why?
I
You don't want to get arrested, do you?
doesn't want to be arrested.
So harmful to people?
No,
Is that like gay bashing? What's wrong with that?
No, actually, my whole issue with the whole trans debate, for example, is you don't need to slide into actually saying derogatory stuff about trans people to make the point that women's rights should be protected. You don't need to.
Well, I agree.
So what? I don't believe.
No, but it's a magic word.
I don't believe in needlessly
sneering.
Well, I'm not smearing anybody. I just think.
But what would you use that word?
Faggot?
Yeah.
I just did.
But would you?
Faggot. And I'm using it because you're not allowed to, because you're.
I'm allowed to.
Go ahead.
I don't want to.
Say, I love gay people. Faggot.
I'm allowed to. I just choose not to.
This chick just got arrested for it and convicted.
Right.
So that doesn't have a chilling effect on your ability to.
Look, there are people watching this who will be offended by the use of the word
I'm sure they
chick.
will. I'm not
No,
anti-gay. I never have been. I can use any freaking word I
Offended
want.
by the use of the word chick.
Chick. Okay, whatever.
How dare you be so sexist comparing women to chicks?
How about
So yeah, that was peak Tucker right there.
yes, yeah, but I mean that's ridiculous, and I do wonder.
She got in trouble for saying faggot, and the guy that beat her got off.
Yeah, and I do understand where Pierce is coming from, and he does have a good point that you don't actually have to go out there and say the slurs in order to make the argument, which is all, that's fine, and I understand that, but at the same time, sometimes in cases like this where you are being prosecuted for saying a naughty word and the person's conduct that elicited that naughty word as a pejorative out of your mouth, in this case, actual assault, is not being prosecuted, yeah, a slur is warranted.
I mean, there is being a faggot. I mean, like the people prancing around downtown San Francisco with the doggy mask on in a parade in front of children, that's a faggot.
Yeah. But this girl wasn't even using it in that derogatory term. She was using it because her boyfriend beat her up, and that's not faggot behavior in the the gay homosexual, but it is faggot in the you're a faggot.
That's wanting, yeah, that's being pissed off at the guy and insinuating that he wears a dog mask in San Francisco and is a faggot. I mean, she was mad. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the same thing. I'm not going to say it here because I'll really get it shut down. Same thing with the N. We've had it said on the show before. That was fun. Same thing with the N word. There's just saying it, and there's actually calling a person who is being an N word an N word.
Yeah, exactly.
So sweet. This is hella cozy. Thanks for joining us. We had some new people on YouTube show up. Must have got us pushed up in the algorithm somehow. Thanks for joining us. If you're just finding us here on YouTube, yeah, that's a heck of a show to get.
Yeah, it's like the algorithm pushed us up, and now after the last 5 minutes, it's going to.
If you saw us here on YouTube this week, you better follow us on Rumble. So go over there and search for Rhodes and Number 2 Liberty, and follow us on Rumble, because if you found us on YouTube this week, probably not next week. And yeah, we do this same time, same day. Try and do it weekly. Sometimes stuff comes up and we don't get it every week. But that's where we are. Also, roadsandnumber2liberty.com. We got some swag on there you can buy. Like I said, Roads Number 2 Liberty on Rumble, also on Facebook. We don't really do much on Facebook anymore because Facebook hates us. We're on X, R2L Pod at Twatter. We have an Alex Jones store link, alexjonesstore.com/R2L. Check us out on there. Speaking of Tucker, and we talk about products we use. He's got these Alp products. I tried them. If you're into upper deckies, he needs to have that company do a little work on the product. So just our honest product reviews that we do. That one did not get my stamp of approval, but everything we got off Alex Jones store so far has been great. So check that out. So we will see you again next week, and stay honky, not faggy.